Hi, my name is Paul Woodward and I'm from Superannuation and Insurances. Today I want to talk to you about why your superannuation funds sometimes goes down in value. For most Australians, superannuation is managed by a fund manager who invests your money on your behalf. Some of the most well-known industry superannuation funds in Australia include AustralianSuper, AwareSuper and HESTA. If you're with an industry fund like these, your money is typically placed in what's called a balanced fund by default. So why can these funds go down in value? It all comes down to asset allocation. In a balanced fund, generally 70% of your money is invested in growth assets and the remaining 30% is invested in defensive assets. So what does this actually mean? Growth assets are investments like Australian and international shares and property. These are assets that have the potential to grow in value over time, but they can also fall in value. The way these investments work is simple. Your fund manager buys these assets at a certain price with the goal of selling them later at a higher price. That's how growth is generated. Let's use a simple example. Imagine your super fund buys a share in a company for $10. Over time, that share grows to $15. When it's sold, that's a $5 profit. But if that share drops to $7 and needs to be sold, that's a $3 loss. That loss is reflected in the value of your superannuation balance. So the big question is, what causes share prices to drop? There are a number of real-world events that can cause markets to fall, and we've seen plenty of them over the years. War and geopolitical conflicts. When conflict breaks out, markets become deeply uncertain, investors get nervous, and share prices often fall as a result. We saw this with the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Which caused significant market volatility around the world. And right now we're seeing it again. In late February 2026, the United States and Israel launched attacks on Iran, triggering retaliatory missiles and drone attacks across the region. The conflict has effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping global route for global oil and gas. And markets around the world have reacted with volatility as a result. This is a live, real-world example of exactly how geopolitical events can affect your superannuation balance. Pandemics. When COVID-19 hit in early 2020, share markets around the world crashed almost overnight. Businesses shut down, economies stalled, and super balances dropped sharply in a very short period of time. Recessions. A recession is when an economy contracts and slows down significantly. Businesses earn less, unemployment rises, and share prices tend to fall as confidence in the market drops. Rising interest rates. When central banks raise interest rates to control inflation, borrowing becomes more expensive for this business. This can reduce their profits and cause their share prices to decline. Global financial crisis. Back in 2008, a collapse in the US housing market triggered a worldwide market crash, and many Australians saw their super balances fall dramatically. The key thing to understand is that these events are temporary. Historically, markets have always recovered over time. So while it can be alarming to see your super balance drop, it's important to take a long-term view. And that brings us to one of the most important principles in investing. It's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. What does this mean? It means that trying to predict when markets will go up and down is nearly impossible, even for the experts. What truly matters is how long your money stays invested. The longer it's in the market, the more opportunity it has to grow and recover from any short-term losses. Now, your stage of life plays a big role in how a market downturn affects you. If you're planning to retire in the next 1 to 3 years, a significant market downturn could have real impact on your plans. We saw this during the global financial crisis in 2008, where many Australians who were on the verge of retirement saw their super balances fall. And as a result of this, some were forced to delay retirement by several years just to allow their balances to come back. That's a difficult position to be in, and it's why it's important to review your superannuation strategy as you get closer to retirement. On the other hand, if retirement is still many years away, the good news is that time is on your side. History has shown us that while markets do go down, they always have recovered. And over the long term, the results from growth assets have consistently outweighed the short-term losses. Your super has time to ride out storms and continue to grow. The bottom line is this: super is a long-term investment. Short-term market movements, while unsettling, are a normal part of investing. What matters most is having the right strategy in place for where you are in life. So what kind of returns can you actually expect over the long term? The numbers speak for themselves. Looking at the data of some of Australia's largest super funds, a balanced option has delivered an average annual return of around 7.34% over 20 years and 8.21% over 10 years. And over the past 33 years, since the introduction of compulsory super, the median growth funds have returned around 8% on average. To put this into real dollars, $100,000 invested in a balanced super option 20 years ago would have grown to about $434,000 without making a single additional contribution. That's the power of compounding returns over time. Some years the market will be up strongly and others it will fall. But history shows us that staying invested and being patient is one of the most powerful things you can do for your retirement. Don't panic when markets fall. For most people, the worst thing you can do is switch your super to cash or a conservative option during a downturn, because you lock in your losses and you miss the recovery. Time in the market wins. So what should you do next? If any of what we've covered today has you thinking about your own superannuation, whether you're worried about recent market movements, unsure if you're in the right investment option, or simply want to understand where your super is headed. At Superannuation and Insurances, we work with everyday Australians to make sure their super is working as hard as possible for them at every stage of life. Here's what I'd encourage you to do. Like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our future videos covering things about superannuation and insurance. Drop a comment below if you have a question. We read every single one. And most importantly, reach out to us directly for a personalised conversation about your super. A small change to your strategy today could make a significant difference to your retirement tomorrow. Your future self will thank you for it. Thanks for watching. I'm Woodward from Superannuation and Insurances.